something impromptu. After I read the story, since no one's here, I might just get down with my native flute and walk and play. You know, just be a little free. You know, why not? It's a way of connecting. So I'll get up and walk and just play for them.
Meditation is so beautiful. 8 minutes of her serenading us. It's like, wow.
Seek
Was Marcia Jen, harpist and vocalist and guitarist extraordinaire. I'm Maria Costellas, flutist and author. And tonight I'd like to share with you a true story. And it happened to me 25 years ago. And a sacred gift was given to me. And this happened in a waking dream. It was a divine experience. And it changed my life forever. It also changed the way I can give to the world. And this is something that has remained with me for 25 years. So tonight, what I would like to do is share with you an excerpt from my book, The Gift of the Singing Stick. Through healing my worst tragedy, I could discover, and you can discover, your greatest gift. Standing on my doorstep were 5 Native American Indians. Their defined style of dress and adornment told me they were visiting from another time, another place. No words were spoken, and the leader handed me a gift. It was a stick, and it was illuminated in a beautiful white light. Now, I knew it was something special, and the reverence with which he presented the stick to me told me it was indeed a very special gift. And I wanted to thank them appropriately, but I just didn't know how, because it was just a stick. So I looked at it closely and turned it upside down and turned it all around, and it was just a stick. Then I thought, maybe they know I'm a flute player. So I looked even more closely, and I looked for holes, for finger holes. Again, nothing, just a stick. And I really wanted to thank them appropriately, and I just didn't know how. Suddenly, the Indians had taken me to another time, another place. I found myself at the back door of my grandparents' home. It's a house where I had often spent the night as a child. No child should have to live through what I experienced in this house. The abuse happened at the hands of someone that I had trusted. He was family. It wasn't a place I liked to think about, let alone visit. But something gave me the courage to be there now and to move beyond my childhood fears and memories. I found myself filled with an excitement, with a purpose, a direction. Instinctively, I knew what I had to do. I found the house unlocked and entered through the back door. Then, I had an impulse to go to the cupboard underneath the stairwell. I opened that cupboard door, and inside were 7 little bags. They had been hidden from me for many years, but I knew they belonged to me. I took each one into my hands, and I went back outside, and I noticed that each bag was a different color, the colors of the rainbow. What I know now as chakra colors. And I also learned that these bags were of significance to Native American cultures. In fact, they're called tobacco ties and symbolizes one's life force energy. So going outside and seeing these bags and seeing the colors and knowing that they had belonged to me and knowing that they had been taken from me, I knew now, I was convinced, I knew that they belonged to me, and I put them inside my chest. And they became part of me. And I just looked up into the sky and I just felt this intense warmth fill my whole body. And I've learned that this is a a soul retrieval, and that's what happened by retrieving part of myself, retrieving this life force energy through these 7 bags. And this feeling stayed with me for quite a long time. And then the Indians somehow returned me to my home. This was a very special experience, this soul retrieval, a visitation or waking dream. I stood in front of them at my front door, holding the stick in my hands. It seemed like years had passed, yet it could have been just seconds. I felt strangely energized and empowered, as if I were about to embark on something new. Then the leader of the Indians nodded his head and said, "We came here to complete a mission, and we've done it. Now, it's your turn." I put the stick to my lips, and it turned into a flute. It was my turn. I wondered what that meant. It seemed that they wanted me to start using the flute for healing. Could that be true? This is what I asked myself then and sometimes now too. But wouldn't it be wonderful if my music could actually help people? Well, several occasions to do just that for those I had known for years, as well as for people that I had only just met, came into my life within a short amount of time, releasing the pain of my yesterdays and the fears of my tomorrows. My mission today is that my music and words become a bridge that connects you to the freedom to be able to express, to be able to at least discover your greatest gift. And that is my ministry, my spiritual practice of sacred giving. Well, thank you. And now I'd like to share with you the gift of the singing stick with one of my favorite flutes. I feel moved to walk down and share it to you a little closer.
That was a beautiful gift. Thank you, Maria Costales. We have Maria Costales on flute, and we have Marcia Jen on harp and guitar this evening. Thank you so much. So welcome to the Going Within service this evening. It's a beautiful summer evening, and it's great to see you here. It's great to come together on a Wednesday night and just talk about God, right? Talk about God in our lives to lift us up and to just tap into the field of infinite possibilities, infinite potentiality, and to expand our consciousness and our awareness of this beautiful presence. So this evening, I will be talking about the spiritual practice of sacred giving, and Maria Costalas warmed us up just beautifully. I'm going to invite you to come forward and to set an intention this evening. Ask yourself the question, how can I give of my time, my talents, and my treasures and serve in a greater way? How can I give of my time, my talents, and my treasure and serve in a greater way as we practice the presence together?
You have a gift to give to the world. You have a love that's special to you. And when you live each day in love, you will find your gift shining through. You have a gift to give to the world. You have a love that's special to you. And when you live each day in love, you will find your gift shining through. Give your gift to the world. Let your light shine through. For it's in the giving the greatest love will come to you. Give your gift to the world. Let your light shine through. For it's in the giving the greatest love will come to you. For it's in the giving the greatest love will come to you. You have a gift to give to the world.
Thank you. That was written by Marcia Jen herself. So this evening, this is the time where we practice the presence and the silence together. And this evening, we have a beautiful gift. Marcia is going to serenade us with the harp. So I invite you to close your eyes and to go within. And just to breathe into your heart space. And think of a time in your life where you gave something to somebody and it brought you so much joy. And I invite you to feel that joy in your heart. And as we move deeper into the meditation, allow that joy to move throughout your whole body. And as we move deeper yet, allow this joy to emanate throughout the whole sanctuary as we practice the presence together.
And I know that God is all there is. God is that all-loving, all-caring source of divinity and inspiration that permeates everything and everyone. And I know that God is in the beauty of the mountaintops and the roar and the thunder of the ocean waves. And I know that God is right here, right this very moment, expressing itself through each of us here at Seaside today. And I know that we are all one with God. We are one with this source of love and caring and compassion, the source of wisdom and knowledge, the source of all that is and all that will ever be. Closer to us than our breath, that is where God is. And like the color of the rainbows, each of us is a unique expression of the divine. And I give thanks in advance in knowing that each of us here tonight receives exactly that which we are here for. As the words flow forth from Reverend Laurie McMacken's lips, each of us is touched. Each of us receives a whole new insight and new inspiration. And we, in turn, take that message out into the world and pass it on to others. And consciousness expands throughout the world. And so I simply turn this time over the hands of God and know that it is perfect. And so it is. Thank you, Marcia. That was really beautiful. I was tempted to let you go on for another 5 to 10 minutes. So our reading tonight is from the Joyous Abundance Journal. And it's called The Spiritual Practice of Sacred Giving. As a practitioner, I love all the opportunities we have to give. I love the opportunity to be up here and partake in the service. I love the duties that we have. I love the opportunity to go and sit and pray for others and help them work through their challenges and their joys. I love all the giving parts of a practitioner, except for one, which is the concept of money and tithing. And when that concept comes up, this little voice in the back of my mind says, now wait a minute, that's my money they're asking for. So I continue to struggle with that concept, but over time what I have learned is that, as Reverend Christian Sorensen says, the more you give, the more you get back. And so let's move on to our reading. Giving is the way to prime the pump for your good. Giving opens the channels and releases the flow, allowing more good to come to you. Become a generous giver, because Spirit mirrors back to you whatever you think and do. So be generous, and Spirit will be generous to you. Regular and committed giving, which is tithing, is a profound spiritual practice. Tithing comes from the desire to say thank you for the abundance you've already received. It's an act of faith in that you can give away 10%, save 10%, and still have more than enough left over. Make your claim on Spirit and expect your abundance. Then say thank you by giving back. I'd like to invite Reverend Lori McMacken up to the lectern.
Thank you, Brian Atkins. Thank you. And thank you, Marcia Jen, for that gift to Maria Costales. That was a beautiful meditation, wasn't it? I just easily went right there, and my mind stopped chattering, and it was just like tapped me in right away. So thank you very much. And that's difficult when I'm sitting up here and I'm thinking about my talk and what I'm going to say and if I'm going to remember it. So anyways, welcome this evening. Tonight I'll be talking about the spiritual practice of sacred giving. And I really believe that we should actually live in a question, like you came forward and you set your intention this evening of, how can I give more of my gifts and my talents and my time and my treasure to the world and serve in a greater way? And I think that if we move through our life always asking that question, what happens is the universe completely opens up for us. But I think the one thing that we want to remember that when we are giving is to always give in joy. Because if, like Brian said, the universe mirrors back to us exactly what we're giving out. When we give from joy, we receive back from joy, and it's multiplied abundantly. Now, Ernest Holmes, he quotes, when we are not receiving the blessings of the divine, it's because we are not sharing our blessings in a wise and open-hearted way. So when we recognize that we are giving from a sacred space, sacred being holy, we recognize that the nature of the universe is that there is a divine flow that is reciprocal, and God is all there is, and everything that we receive from life, we receive from God. And everything that we give back to life, we are giving back to God. And the minute we feel like we don't have enough, or we're in lack and we're in limitation, is the minute that we feel separate from the divine spirit. I mean, just think about it. We came here from God, and we're going to leave and go back to the divine nature, but we cannot take a U-Haul truck full of all of our money and things with us when we pass on. We have to leave it to do good work out into the world. So why not abundantly take this money and multiply it and then give it to the world so that our children can live in the world in a better place, be more educated as we evolve and expand and move forward in life. So I know that, sacred giving can be a little, you can get a little uptight. Thank you for being honest, Brian, because, a lot of us didn't grow up with tithing 10%. And I think that's what it is. It's something that you have to expand and you have to grow into it unless your family taught you that at a very young age. Now, many moons ago, the Mosaic Law had required the Hebrews to give 10% of their money to their spiritual community. And that 10% of their money that they gave to their spiritual community supported the priests and the ministers pastors, and they became millionaires. And then the people, the spiritual leaders would give their money to the synagogues and the temples, and everyone prospered. Now, this was many, many moons ago, but what happened, this created a collective consciousness that has lasted throughout time. And I don't know about you, but growing up in Michigan, I knew that the Jewish people were very rich people. We had an area, I think it was in Southfield, that the Jewish people lived, and they were wealthy. I never could figure out, why are the Jewish people wealthy? I mean, I don't think I figured it out until today, actually. I mean, like, I was thinking that they were just great negotiators, right? So that's why they were wealthy. And I had a boyfriend who was a German for 16 years, and he was a great negotiator, and he would say, you can't out-Jew a German. But that was his point of view, right? So, but it's not true. The truth is they've had this consciousness of tithing throughout their whole life, throughout all their ancestry. So when they're living in the world and they're giving 10% to their spiritual community and they're giving 10% in their savings, they are living a prosperous life. They're freely giving and freely receiving and living in the abundant nature of the universe. Freely I give, freely I receive, I joyfully live in the universal flow. Say that with me. Freely I receive, freely I give, freely I receive, I joyfully live in the universal flow. And I think that if we say this to ourselves all the time, what happens is we have the opportunity to give freely out to the world. And we really can't give freely unless we give joyfully. You know, when we feel grateful when we're giving something away. Now, if we're not trained to give 10%, because I'm just going to be honest with you, I was a tipper for a long time because I didn't know that it was a spiritual practice to give 10%. And I was a waitress for many years, so my first time in a CSL church, I would put $1 in the basket, and the next time maybe I'd put $2 in the basket, and I remember one time I gave $20. I thought, whoa, I am happening. So and I didn't realize it until after I was expanding, and I was growing, and I was taking classes, that it really was this practice that I wanted to partake in, that I wanted to give to my spiritual community. I wanted my minister to go on vacations. I wanted my spiritual center to prosper. And after I got into that flow of giving that 10%, and it took a long time, I realized, wow, and I was looking back at that today, my money started to flow in so much easier. Like my whole life changed. And you really don't know until you try it yourself, but they have something called the escalator. And so what you would do is maybe at first if you don't feel, because you have to give what you feel comfortable giving, that's the whole thing. You might give like 1% and joyfully give that 1%. And then the following year you give 2%. And then the following year give 3%, and maybe you can jump to 6%, but you keep moving up gradually because it is an expanded awareness and it is an expanded consciousness. There's a great quote that I had seen. A Jew can make more accidentally than a Gentile can make on purpose, right? Because they have grown up with this consciousness of giving. But what's important is that we freely give and we freely receive, and we're in this abundant flow. But I also had problems with when I was giving something that there were strings attached. I don't know if that was, codependent control freak or whatever, but I had problems with giving something and thinking that someone should maybe be a certain way when I gave them something. And if they didn't, it made me a little angry. So my punk kid, teenage nephew, he's not that anymore, but at one time he was 16 years old, and I wanted to give him a car. I wanted him to feel free. I wanted him to feel like he was in control. I wanted him to have a really good job. I wanted him to go get educated. I wanted him to really, grow and expand and do great things in the world at 16 when all he wanted to do was party. So I thought I was being of service to him when I gave him this car. And then 2 weeks later, he crashed the car. But the thing is, my family didn't tell me because I knew if I found out, I was going to get really angry. So when I found out that my family was keeping a secret from me, I was so mad. And then I found out he crashed the car. I was so upset. And then I realized, as I was in my spiritual evolution, that I was attached to the outcome. I gave him something, and I expected him to act a certain way. So, you know how the universe is. If you don't get it the first time, you always get another opportunity. So I had a cousin that was living in Australia, and he had his wife and child, and he was working for GM, and he came back to visit. And while he was visiting, they locked him out of Australia. He had a home, he had animals, he had everything there. His kid never even been in the United States, and he couldn't go back. So here he is. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a job. You know, his family is kind of, you know, he's going to stay with his family, but nothing is really working out. He's having a hard time finding a job. He doesn't have transportation. And I was going through a life change at the time, and I just bought a new car. So I decided that I was going to give him my old car. So we drove all the way from Arizona to California, and I gave him my car. And about 3 months later, I heard that she crashed the car. And at first I was like, oh, and I went, no, it's okay. Freely I give, freely I receive. And I corrected myself. So I realized, you know what? I gave it, and whatever happened to it, it's okay, you know. But at first I kind of cringed up. Like I was like, wow, they didn't really respect that, or they didn't honor it, or, you know, something like that went through my mind. I thought, nope, And I think last week I sent money, a gift card at Walmart to somebody, and they didn't get it, and it was going to get lost in the mail. And I started thinking, oh, God, the wrong person's going to get it. And I thought, no, wait a minute. The right person's going to get it. Whoever gets it, and it's out of my control. I just freely give it. So it's reminding ourselves that when we do give, that we have to give freely. Freely I give, and freely I receive. I joyfully live in the universal flow. Say that with me. Freely I give, freely I receive. I joyfully live in the universal flow. And it's really about asking ourselves, you know, how can I give more time, more talent, and more treasures? And when you find yourself that you're joyful when you're doing it, that joy just comes back to you tenfold. So there's a story about a woman who, did I tell you about the restaurant story or no? Oh, okay. So a minister told me this. I just want to share this with you because it really hit me when I heard someone say this. She said, you go to a restaurant, you sit down, you order from the menu, right? And then you pay your bill. You are fed. You come to your spiritual community, you become fed, but you don't really have to pay your bill if you don't want to. You know, it's all consciousness. It's only if you freely want to give to your spiritual community. And that's when we give in a sacred way. That's when we give in a holy way. That's when we recognize that, you know, we have a deep relationship with Spirit and with God, and we can trust that God is always our source and our supply. And whatever we give to our spiritual community or anyone in the world always does good work and always multiplies and returns to us abundantly. But it's really that consciousness of giving freely and giving with joy. There was a story about a wise woman who lived in the mountains of China. And she was sitting at the river, and she noticed a beautiful rock in the river, and she pulled it out. And it happened to be a very expensive gem. And this gem could financially support her for the rest of her life. And the next day, a beggar comes walking through, and he asks her for a piece of bread. She opens her purse up, and he sees the gem. He says, could I have that gem also? She said, yeah. She gave him the gem, and she gave him the piece of bread. And you can imagine how happy he was, because he knew he was going to be financially free for the rest of his life. And the next day, he came back to her, and he said, I want to give you this stone back. but I want you to give me something more precious. And she said, well, what is that? He goes, I want to know what enabled you to give me that gem. Yeah. You know, we're so lucky to live here in Carlsbad, in San Diego. It's just the weather, the consciousness of the people, the beauty, the wealth, the health. We have so much to be grateful for. And we're not really subjected to what goes on in the rest of the world. We hear about it, but we really don't see it. Some of the statistics are just startling. 1 out of every 4 people in the world are starving. 1.5 billion people in the world do not have enough clean water. 20 million people are suffering in the horror of war, imprisonment, and torture. Every few seconds, a child dies from a preventable disease. 1/7 of the population is illiterate. And 3 million people homeless each year in the United States. That's like unfathomable. Rumi was walking down the street and he saw a homeless man. He said, God, why don't you do something about this? And God said, I did. I created you. So we are here on this earth to really to give of our time and our talents and our gifts so the rest of the world can raise their consciousness. And we are here as light holders of the world in CSL to see the world of how it wants to be seen, to see everyone fed, to see everyone free from disease, from torture, and to have a world that's living in peace. One of my favorite people, and most people love him too, is Warren Buffett, because he really is a master when it comes to finances. In June of 2006, he announced that he was going to give 85% of his money to Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. And it really is an amazing foundation because what they value is they want to heal all the disease in the world, and they also want to really give money to education to the Americans, and every child should be educated. So he's going to be given $31 billion. That was in 2006, and this is 2017. Can you imagine what has happened to the stock? By the time he passes and they actually get the money, who knows how many billions it could be today, maybe $50 billion. But Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, what they believe in 2 values: all lives, no matter what they are being led, have equal value. No matter where they are being led, have equal value. And to whom much has given, much is expected. So it is up to us that we ask ourselves, how can I give of my time and my talents and my gifts and my treasures to the world? And I think it's when we live in that question, we want to give joyfully. So we want to give to a place that really we feel sacred with our heart, Do you feel sacred with animals? Is it children? Is it older people? Is it the 12-step programs? I mean, there's so many places that we could actually give our time and talents and our gifts besides our spiritual center. But we want to do something that you already do, and you're already good at it, and you already love it. So maybe you're a computer program, and you can donate your time to a charity working on their computer, or maybe you can do the singing or the flute for a charity or a foundation, or if you're a speaker, you can go and speak for a foundation. So whatever it is, it's joyful and it's happy, and it brings prosperity to everyone that is around you. Make-A-Wish Foundation is an amazing foundation where children who are dying of a fatal disease or cancer, they get their one last wish in the world. And people donate money, and they might not know the child, or they may know the child, to give that child that wish. And there was a little girl, her name was Carly, and she was dying of cancer, and her wish is that she wanted to go to SeaWorld and she wanted to swim with the dolphins. And 3 weeks before her wish was going to be granted, she came down with influenza and she went into a coma. the doctors told all the nurses on Friday that they better say goodbye to her because she's not going to make it through the weekend. However, when Monday came along, she came out of her coma, and she came down from heaven because she wanted so bad to go to SeaWorld and to swim with the dolphins. And so a week later, they swept her off to SeaWorld, and she swam with the dolphins. And today, she is a thriving, living teenagers. And what they think had happened is that when a child thinks that there is a possibility to fulfill a dream, okay? And that possibility actually happens, and they have that experience and that joyful experience. They realize that there are other experiences that they can have in the world, and they actually have a reason to live. So this is really a beautiful foundation to belong to. I had a girlfriend who went through a terrible divorce, and she was just heartbroken. And what she did, she decided to fly herself to Romania and to donate her time to the orphanage there. And it just really, truly opened her heart, and it opened her up to other things in life. Because recently she flew over to Thailand, and she worked in an elephant sanctuary. And while she was there, she's also a writer, and she works on websites. She helped them with that. Someone told her that she could actually teach ESL, English as a Second Language, in different countries. So then she went over to Dominican Republic, and she worked with children there who are at high risk, who don't have clean water, and she taught them how to make gardens up on rooftops, and she also wrote for the foundation, but she really gave her gifts, and this has given her so much joy that her life has totally turned around, and she decided from now on she's going to travel the world and teach ESL. So when it is that you want to give of your talent, do something that you really love to do and give it out to the world, and it would just return to you abundantly. 24 years ago, oh shoot, I'm only 25, but 24 years ago, I was working in Las Vegas with the Radio City Rockettes, and I also had a children's party business. I love doing these parties. I would do 5 parties on a Saturday and 4 parties on a Sunday. I just did them all the time, and then the kids loved me. And so I decided that I was going to donate my time to children because I had so much fun with them, and I was working at night in the casinos. So I went to the shelters, and I would do birthday parties for the homeless children there. And not only that, but I also decided to become a big sister. And I've been with the Big Brother, Big Sister program for 24 years. And my little sister at the time was 4 years old, and I got her a Tinkerbell costume. And I taught her how to do magic and balloons. And together, this is why I loved being a big sister. I had an opportunity to have children, a part of my life, because I don't have any children, and I was of service to the community. I had the opportunity to do things I normally wouldn't do, like go to the Ice Capades, Disney on Ice, and the circus and all those fun things. And then it was fun. It made me feel like a kid again. I just loved playing with her. But anyways, this is Courtney. When she was probably 6 or 7 there, we were matched when she was 4. And we were actually the Big Sister of the Year in Las Vegas because we did so much charity work. And she came from circumstances where her father was, unfortunately, a drug addict, and he had passed away when she was a young little girl, and mother had some problems also. But I remember her saying to me, when I graduate from high school, I'm going to get married and have babies right away. And I was like, ooh, baby. I go, okay, we got to shift this a little bit. I said, why don't you go to college and, make some money and then, do something you really love to do and then go get married and have kids. And I kind of planted something, it's just that possibility, I planted in her mind. I go, well, what do you want to do? She's like, well, I want to be a zookeeper. I want to work with big animals, So she did exactly that. There she is with a tiger, a little baby bear, And there's her and her boyfriend at the time on an elephant. Last year, I had the opportunity to marry her and her boyfriend from college. And next week, I'm going to a ministerial conference in Seattle, and she will be having Calvin. It's just really a beautiful experience. I just had so much fun being a little sister. And then I got another little sister here in San Diego from Operation Big in Camp Pendleton. Her name was Skyla. And we were together for 3 years, and then I got her out of Camp Pendleton. I got her to the outside program so we could do more things. When I took her to the ocean, she saw surfers, and she decided she wanted to be a surfer. So we became the Surfing Sisters. I bought her a surfboard, got her surf lessons, and it was all good until surfing career ended when she was stung by a stingray. Not once, but twice. And now she says she's grown out of it. When she was a tween, she would take my phone and do selfies. And now that she's a teen, I have to beg her for a picture. She lives in Texas, and she visits once a year. And then now I have a little, but she is an amazing fashion designer. I keep telling her, you got to be a fashion designer. You're so good at this. Just kind of implant a possibility in her life. And then I have one more. Her name is Haley. She's 9 years old. She's in Camp Pendleton. And she likes to play Candyland and hide and seek. And we were together the other day, and she told me that her mother didn't drive. And she said, well, she's moving away to Kansas. She says, me and my girlfriend are going to go to Disneyland when we get older. Since I'm not going to drive, she's going to drive. And I was like, I said, she has a little sister that has autism, and she babysits her little sister. You are such a beautiful kid. You are such a responsible person. You're going to be an amazing driver. And if you drive, you can go all over and see all your friends and have any job you want. There's so much you can do when you drive. So we were at the picnic the other day, and she walked up to an adult. She said, when I get older, I'm going to drive. I was like, yes. So 3 men there. There were 3 men in the program that received trophies. They were with the Big Brother program for 10 years, and they gave them these beautiful trophies. I went up to them and congratulated them, and each one of them was just glowing. They were in their 70s, and they said, "This has brought me so much joy." Yeah. So whatever you do, bring the joy. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service for others. Always live in the question, how can I give? How can I give my time and my talents and my gifts and my treasures in a greater way? Every day, live in that question. How can I live in this universal flow? How can I freely give and freely receive? So just to leave you with one last story about a carpenter who made many, many homes, and he wanted to retire. He went to his boss and he said, "It's time for me to retire." And his boss said, "Oh, just make one more home." He really didn't want to, but he reluctantly did. And when he put the home together, he did it kind of sloppy, and he used inferior materials. And when the boss went there to go inspect the home, he looked at him and he gave them the keys, and he said, "This is your retirement gift." And he knew that if he knew this was his home, he would have put more love and more care into it. And it is just an analogy for us to realize that this world is our home, and we have to live in it, and our children behind us have to live in it, and we have to put more love and more care, and we have to live in the question, how can I give more? How can I be more joyful? How can I live in this divine flow so we can create a world that works for everyone? And so it is. Thank you. So I invite you to close your eyes and to go within as we recognize the grace, the goodness, the love, the joy, the service of the world. Recognizing that each and every person here is that unique, individualized expression of life, of the one, of the whole. Each person talented and unique and giving their gifts to the world in their own way. For each person's gift is so important in the greater perspective of life. For what I know for each and every person here is that you are able to give of your time and your talents and your service and your treasures in any way that calls to your heart Just listen to that divine, still small voice within you and allows it to guide you and to direct you to just to make the world a better place. You don't have to try to do anything. It's just do what you love, give with joy, and be who you are. I'm just grateful for this time together as we recognize that power and that presence of God that lives within each and every person here, knowing that each and every person gives of themselves greatly out into the world, and so it is. That's right. But we love the harp. It's all good. You can serenade us.
So this song, I'll just tell you a little bit about it. Because one day I was in a great big old funk. And I was driving down the road, and I heard Spirit say to me, you know, if you stay in that funky place, you're going to miss the good thing that I'm bringing to you today. It's going to go right by you, and you won't even see it because you're in a funk. And the song just came in, just like this.
Nice.
And so it's a good way to close a beautiful talk on giving and receiving. Are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. So open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. Open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. It's easy to join in and sing with me. The words are right up there. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. So open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. Open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way. So open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. Open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. And open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. And open to the gifts of Spirit. Open to the gifts of life. Good things are gonna happen today. Good things are always coming your way.
All right. Thank you. So this is the time of our service where we can joyfully give back to our spiritual community, knowing that your gifts allows the spiritual community to expand and grow in consciousness, and it also supports our building. So I invite practitioner Ginny and Dennis Mill to come forward for this. Today is their 20th wedding anniversary. Wow, beautiful. So afterwards we have cake in the sanctuary, and we invite you to celebrate this day with them. Where is my changer? I invite you to take your gift and to put it over your heart. Oops, sorry. And close your eyes and go within. So I'm just grateful for these gifts that are given to Seaside Center for Spiritual Living, knowing that they are bountiful, knowing they allow this spiritual community to expand and grow in consciousness, and knowing that each person receives in return the multiplied abundantly. And I'm grateful for this spiritual community and their generosity, and so it is. Together we say, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is, I joyfully give.
As I give, I receive a beautiful life. As I give, I receive a beautiful life. As I give, I receive a beautiful life. Blessings flow from me to you. As I give, I receive a bountiful life. As I give, I receive a bountiful life. As I give, I receive a bountiful life. Blessings flow from me to you. Blessings flow from me to you. Oh, to you. Oh, to you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So before we do our circle of love prayer, I just want to give a side note that my nephew that I talked about earlier, today he's everything I wanted him to be. He was just being a kid. So this is the time of our service where we practice the spiritual mind treatment, what we really firmly believe here in religious science. If there's anyone in your life right now that needs a prayer or needs to be healed, I invite you to bring their consciousness in the room. By raising your hand, I'll pick on you, and I won't pick on you, but I'll point at you, choose you, and just speak their name, their name into the consciousness of the room, and then we will have a spiritual mind healing. So does anyone need a healing? I'm going to put Mary and Dave in the circle of love. So I invite you to close your eyes and to go within. For I'm grateful for this time that we come together as one to recognize our loved ones. Recognizing there's only one life, and that's the life of God, and that's the life of joy and beauty and wholeness and grace. And recognizing that this circle of love is complete. It binds all together with cords of everlasting life. I cannot depart from its presence nor wander from its care. The circle of love is complete within my mind. The circle of love is complete within the consciousness of the room. I know these loved ones that we hold high, that they are perfect and they are whole and they are complete. I know the loving arms cradles them. The intelligence of spirit knows exactly what each and every person needs for their healing. I know where there is lack and limitation, there is abundance. I know where there is sickness, I know there's perfection. I know when there is uneasiness, there is balance with ease and with grace. I'm grateful for this divine healing within my mind, knowing that it is already done in the mind of God, and so it is. So I want to give gratitude from Melanie. Thank you so much for this evening. And Steve Grant on video and sound. Tim Griffith, I think he's gone, but I want to thank Tim Griffith. And thank you, Gregory. My mother loves you, and so do I. Thank you, Victoria Woods, for holding high consciousness. Thank you, Brian Atkins, for your consciousness. And Maria, there was such a beautiful, beautiful story that you told, and she's going to be sharing this with the world. She's going to travel and share her story and do healing workshops. So thank you so much. And Marcia, it's always wonderful having you here, and I love all the music that you create, so thank you very much. So I invite you to stand up, and we'll do our universal blessing. Victoria, if you want to join us for the closing song, that'd be great. Together we say, may all beings be well and happy. May all beings be free from strife. May all beings return to love. Peace be with you forevermore. And Marcia's going to, come on up. She's going to go through the song twice because Marcia created this song for us.
Let your hearts fill with peace from the angels who love our world. Let your hearts fill with peace from the angels who love our world. Peace will change 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 our world. Peace in our hearts. Peace in our world. Peace in our hearts. Peace in our world. Let your hearts fill with peace from the angels who love our world. Let your hearts fill with peace from the angels who love our world. Peace will change 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 our world. Peace in our hearts. Peace in our world. Peace in our hearts. Peace in our world. In our world.
Seaside, may you walk in peace and join us for a piece of cake or take one home with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.